All right, let's talk about a number so big it's almost impossible to really wrap your head around: the US national debt. You've probably heard it called a ticking time bomb. But what does that actually mean for the economy and for you? Let's break it down.
So let's just start with the raw number. As of late 2025, we're talking about over $38 trillion. And no, that's not a typo. To give you some perspective on just how fast that's growing, the debt has shot up by $3 trillion in just the last year and a half. That's an increase of over $5 billion every single day. A number that huge, well, it needs some serious context, right?
And here's where you really start to see the scale of the problem. Our national debt is now way bigger than our entire country's economic output for a whole year, what economists call the GDP. That debt to GDP ratio, it's a key health metric for a country. Once you cross that 100% line like we have, it starts flashing as a major warning sign for long-term stability.
So what is all this debt anyway? Simply put, it's the total amount of money the federal government owes. It's basically broken down into two main buckets. Public debt, which is what's held by investors, people, companies, even other countries. And then there's intragovernmental debt, which is kind of weird. It's money the government owes to itself, like to the Social Security Trust Fund.
A number this big obviously doesn't just pop up overnight. So you gotta ask, how on earth did we get here? How did we assemble this $38 trillion bomb in the first place? Let's take a look at the key moments that made it skyrocket.
If you look back through history, you can see these huge spikes. It peaked right after World War II, but then something amazing happened. We had this incredible economic boom, and that helped shrink the debt, at least relative to the size of the economy. But starting in the 80s, running a deficit just kind of became the new normal. And then, bam, the big shocks hit. The 2008 financial crisis, and of course the massive spending for the COVID-19 response, which added trillions in a blink of an eye.
And that all brings us to right now. The debt has always been around, but that time bomb metaphor, you're hearing it a lot more lately. So why is it ticking so much louder right now? What is the real risk we're all facing?
Okay, this is absolutely crucial to understand. The real danger isn't some crazy Hollywood-style economic collapse where everything just implodes overnight. The reality is, well, it's a lot more subtle, but maybe even more dangerous. It's a slow, grinding squeeze on our economy, and it's all because of the rising cost of paying interest on the debt. Think about where your tax dollars go. For decades, the big three have been Social Security, Medicare, and defense. But look now, that third slice, interest on debt, has gotten huge. It's now one of the largest single items in the entire federal budget. We are spending a staggering amount of money just to pay for the money we've already borrowed. And that crowds out money for, well, pretty much everything else.
And this is where things can get really scary because it can create this dangerous feedback loop. They call it a debt spiral. See, when interest rates go up, the cost of our debt goes up. But if we're not bringing in more tax money, the government has to borrow more money just to pay the interest. It's like having to take out a new credit card to pay the interest on your old ones. It is a cycle that is incredibly hard to break.
So, the big question is, can we defuse this thing? The answer is yes, but there are absolutely no easy answers here. Economists will tell you there are really only 4 main paths forward, and every single one comes with some really tough choices.
So here they are, the 4 hard choices. 1, you could raise taxes. That brings in more money, but it could also slow down the economy. 2, you could cut spending, but that is incredibly unpopular. We're talking about services people really depend on. 3, you could just grow our way out of it. Make the economy grow faster than the debt. That's the dream scenario, really, but it's very hard to maintain. And finally, number 4, you can allow inflation to run a little hot, which quietly makes the old debt less valuable over time.
Okay, let's zoom in on that last one, inflation, because this is where this giant abstract problem hits you right in the wallet. This is the fallout zone for your personal finances.
And that brings us to maybe the most important question in this whole explainer. If letting inflation run higher is one of the main tools to deal with all this debt, who's really paying the price for that strategy? Because it's definitely not a victimless solution. And this right here breaks it down perfectly. See, inflation isn't neutral. It creates winners and losers. It absolutely crushes anyone who has saved cash or is living on a fixed income because their money just buys less and less. But it can actually help people who have big fixed-rate loans, like a mortgage. It also benefits owners of hard assets, like real estate, which tend to go up in price. It is, in effect, a silent transfer of wealth.
So what's the bottom line here?
It's this: the national debt isn't some far-off problem just for politicians in Washington. The solutions, especially the politically easiest one, have direct, real-world consequences for all of us. Using inflation might quietly pay off the government's debt, but it's your wallet that ultimately pays the price. That's the choice, that's the trade-off, and it's happening right now.